All right. Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner, classic, less known classic. This episode number 2598 and also number 2492. We're talking about Man Thing, and we're talking about more Excalibur. For Man Thing, we're discussing The Man Thing by Steve Gerber, The Complete Collection, Volume 1. This collects The Man Thing's debut appearance from Savage Tales number 1. Adventure, I think Astonishing Tales 1213, Adventure to Fear, 11 to 19, the opening issue of Marvel 2 1, the first 8 issues of Man Thing Volume 1, of course, the also maintained material for number 10, and Monster Unleashed number 5. Now, Savage Tales number 1, which is Man Thing's backstory. Now, I originally read this as black and white and all the other stuff in here, but this book was definitely black and white. This is also a book that featured Ka-Zar. Yeah, it's put basically looked like Conan, looked like it's a cap. I'm not gonna show the picture because it's a Conan book, and like apparently they're allowed to collect the Ka-Zar story, and well, the Conan I think the story may be collected for Savage Tales. This was originally released as a one shot, and they released more issues later. Thinking, really? Yes, really. They did do this. Yeah. So, the whole thing with Man Thing's origin story with Savage Tale, for some reason, I'm not sure why this is, where, like anytime there's a black and white story for him, they have to keep constantly retelling a story. By the way, the opening story, it's basically a Conan story. Fairy the Femazons is basically original character Princess Lyra. That was second the Man Thing story. Now, mostly put, he's a scientist who's got this hot wife, which they later retcon was actually his fiancee, not his wife for some reason, named Ellen Brandit, and she's a member of AIM. Well, actually, originally they named organization initially, but I think later on they did. Yeah, they established in this particular one that she works for AIM. So basically, what he's trying to do is recreate the super soldier syndrome, and AIM wants it. So he injects it into himself, and then he is disposed of by AIM and dumped into a swamp. Now you're thinking, a terrorist organization dumping a scientist into a swamp. Does that sound very familiar? It does. Because apparently, I think that Jerry Conway ripped up Swamp Thing's origin story. Except that Swamp Thing is taller than Man Thing, and here's the thing: Swamp Thing can actually talk. Man Thing cannot talk at all. Yeah. So this story here is written by Jerry Conway and Roy Thomas, art by Gray Morrow. Now, Steve Gerber is credited as one of his creators. Well, actually, no, he isn't. But somehow Stan Lee is credited. I think the reason why Steve Gerber is credited working on him because he did work on it for quite a while. He worked on pretty much the entire original volume for Man Thing. Yes, he wrote the whole thing. So, the serum is known as SOO2. It's a recreation of the, well, supposed to create Super Soldier Syndrome, but it didn't work. Basically, turned the Man Thing because it took in the swamp. Excuse me. So, there's us unnamed, like Weapons Plus. Apparently, yeah, this program is connected to Weapons Plus for some reason. Yeah, I have no idea why in the world this is, but they explain more about this in Giant Science Man Thing number 5. Ellen Brandit, a woman who basically later on in this debut story, like, oh, he's his hot wife, and the thing is, they basically went to the Everglades because he didn't want cooped up in the lab. So they wait for this guy named Hamilton to show up, and like, oh crap, this guy Hamilton's dead. Yep, he's dead. How? Don't know why. Yeah, so he's found dead, and AIM basically dumps in the swamp. He becomes Man Thing, and as soon as he sees his hot wife, he touches her face and it burns. They don't show her face until many years later of what the heck her face looked like afterwards. This establishes basically Man Thing's special ability. Whoever fears basically the phrase is whoever fears the Man Thing burns as touch, and she gets burned, and she remains like that for years. Yep. Though it was later retconned he was actually his fiance, because originally it was wife, and then they retconned it was just basically fiance for some reason. I don't know why. It's weird. And here's the thing. After this debut story featuring her, she's featured a few times in flashback, but she doesn't make a physical appearance again for years. Like, then they retell this in Astonishing Tales number 12, which was his next appearance, which came out in 1972. This one shot came out in January of 1971. So, like, okay, so next thing Man Thing does is to next appear in Astonishing Tales with Ka-Zar. Yep. Yeah, where he fights Ka-Zar for the first time. And we see also in this particular issue here is mostly put Barmore's first time he actually meets in a way of Ka-Zar. You're thinking, Barmore's, you mean Mockingbird? Yes. Also, did you know when she made her debut, she was a redhead? Yes, seriously. And I have asked Neil Adams about this character. Like, he has no idea. He basically didn't even acknowledge the fact he created this character at all. Nope, he did not want to admit it. Either he was embarrassed or something. I have no idea. Mm-hmm. So it's all wrestling a scientist. Basically, Ka-Zar is informed about the events of Savage Tales number 1. That is mostly put exactly what this issue is. It's basically his experience, and Ka-Zar gets involved for he's here for this issue and the following issue. And then, like, right after this, he appears in, well, he also appears in Monsters Unleashed, which is just basically a retelling of that same story. It's not a reprint, it's just a retelling. Because next appearance right after this, well, currently next appearance, well, it was in Monsters Unleashed. And then right after this, then came Fear, Adventures of Fear number 10, but it's just basically as Fear number 10. It basically is debut of the Draymond siblings, Draymonds and the Thompsons. Bobby Draymond is a little boy who only appears in this one issue, and this issue is written by Jerry Conway and Howard Chaykin. There's a couple other stories in here in this Fear story, but here's the thing: this book only collects just the Man Thing issue. Yeah, Man Thing is only in just the opening story, and then by issue 11 becomes basically Man Thing's own book. Yep. So, yeah, so he fights a thing called they call it the Nether Spawn. His real name is Thog. He is a kind of a recurring character for Man Thing ish. After this one issue here, he appears a couple more times in Fear, then he appears in Man Thing number 1, and a couple more issues in the Man Thing book. And we also first appearance a woman named Jennifer. You're thinking, Jennifer? Who is Jennifer? Jennifer Kale, the beautiful sorceress who wears a bikini. And also, they kind of out of there as a lesbian years later. Was weird. Yes, this beautiful woman, and she's kind of a lesbian. Actually, she's bisexual. They out of this in the Mystic Arcania Book of Magic Marvel. Yeah. Yeah, she's basically bisexual. Yeah, at one point, I remember this very well, where in the Witches one shot, the Witches miniseries, where she was being told by Santana to stop staring at her chest. Yes, that was the first hand that I knew of. Now, if you're curious, what the Jennifer Kale look like? Now, if you're curious, does Ka-Zar himself, does he appear in the Man Thing book ever again? No, he never encounters Man Thing ever again. But she does put on a particular attire that's associated with her, this bikini armor that she wears as a sorceress. Yep. Yeah, she just is damn, like, she's somewhat damsel in distress, but later becomes an actual sorceress. But yeah, that's basically her debut. She's still around this very day. Yeah, and if you're really curious, like, is she like a supporting character for Man Thing? Yes. Also, for some reason, Man Thing first shows up. You know how normally he looks green? For some reason, when he's first colored, he was brown. Yes. I guess the reason why they changed him to green because they want people to say, "Oh, he looks like poop." That's just my theory. I don't know exactly the reason for it. Yeah, and she appears mostly in the Fear series, and then here's something really weird. Really weird. After first issue Man Thing, she next appears in Giant Size Man Thing #3, and then she pops up in the final issue of Man Thing. Yeah, and appearance has been very sporadic over the years. Her last known appearance day was actually in the penultimate issue of the recent book for Scarlet Witch by Steve Lano. Yep. Yeah, I remember it was in the Witches miniseries that this is where they have a hint of the fact she has a hit thing of women because of her staring at Santana's chest. I mean, what person would? Because Santana's hot. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, she's here as a supporting character, and then she just does her own thing afterwards. Becomes a sorceress. Becomes really like a really good book under like eventually the Man Thing book itself. Yeah, fighting against, but mostly put just Man Thing fights against like a cult. Basically, a lot of science, a lot of magical stuff. That's why I think he's a science-based character. We also have a debut character named Mogul the Gladiator, who appears 3 more times after this. His next appearance is actually in Incredible Hulk 210, 212, and the final appearance was in the 22nd annual for Avengers. And someone called the Enchanter. And he's basically just a minor Man Thing villain. So I'm thinking, does Man Thing have action villains? He kind of does. Like he ends up fighting demons. Also a guy named Joshua Kale, who is Jennifer Kale's grandfather. Andy Kale is basically her bro. Oh, you have Andrew Kale, who is, I believe, is supposed to be her brother. Yeah, it's her brother. Apparently, he's also a cousin of Johnny Blaze. Yeah, he got killed off in the final issue of Witches. But yeah, Man Thing, it just proves to be a lot of fun. Man Thing's last story he appears in, which I kind of, and of course, the first appearance of a creature named Wonder in issue number in Fear 17, who becomes a recurring character in Marvel 2-in-1. It's like Steve Gerber created him just be a recurring character in Marvel 2-in-1 because that was actually his next appearance right after this. Being Marvel 2-in number 2. Yep. By the way, Man Thing appears in issue number 1 of this very book, where Man Thing goes to the Everglades to fight Ted Dallas, and we also see, get this, them all taking on the Molecule Man. Yes, an old enemy of the Fantastic Four. Yeah, and this is coming after his appearance in Avengers. So after Fear number 17, Then 18, it's just basically fighting Rob Squirrel. Yeah, and then the final issue, it's the first appearance of Howard the Duck, which is an unnamed duck, and then he later gets named to Howard the Duck. Yeah, and then the story continues in Man Thing #1, or Howard the Duck appears for cameo, and then he gets his own book after this. Yeah, and then with the Congress Realities, issue #1. And then at this point, basically, where Steve Gerber takes on the writing duties. Issue #2 is debut of Richard Rory, who was a character I talked before in my She-Hulk book, when I talked about the Savage She-Hulk book, because this is a guy who appears as a regular character in that book, and then he just appears in She-Hulk. Yes. Almost like as soon as he pops up in issue 7, he's here until like the very end of the book. And pop a few more times afterwards. But this is basically his debut appearance, issue 2. Yeah, Richard Rory. There's also Ruth Hart. Yeah, and she's affiliated with the Man Thing, and you might be curious, does she pop up this book wraps up? Well, after issue 11, she gets moved over to Omega the Unknown book, and then she appears in Defenders, and that's it. I'll discuss Omega the Unknown at some other point. Yeah. So now we have Man Thing versus Bikers, and then we had the first appearance of Fool Killer, except not the one you think of. Nope. This Fool Killer, the Fool Killer is, think of him as a low-rent Scourge Underwear. He kills like, oh, he goes like, oh, you're a fool, I'm gonna kill you with my Fool Killer gun. And he gets killed off his next appearance. Yeah, this guy's only around for 2 issues and he gets killed off by Man Thing. Yeah. Who fears to touch the Man Thing? Yeah, he gets killed off like in the very next issue. Yeah, because he's gonna kill Man Thing. There was one Fool Killer who actually killed who actually killed a character named Blockbuster in the pages of Omega the Unknown. Yes, seriously, because Fool Killer, his whole thing is, I want to kill all the fools in the world. Yeah, that's his thing. After his brief tension in the book, then we have a character named Daryl the Clown. He has a clown appears in this book, and he's only appears with 1 issue. Yeah, he gets killed off in this issue by accident. Yep. Then in issue #6, which is where Daryl the Clown gets killed off in that issue. Yep, and by issue 7, well, this guy called F.A. Sedges, who has basically been like a recurring, but he gets killed off by issue #8. It's like, okay, let's have this guy appear as a recurring Man Thing and then kill him off in issue #8. There's also Mr. Slaughter, who is surprisingly still alive. And he was a recurring kill in this book in issue 8, and then he popped up in Savage She-Hulk, a couple issues, and that was it. Let's see. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for this particular book. But damn, this book is a lot of fun. Yeah, that's the thing with this book. It is a lot of fun. I love this Man Thing book. Give it roughly a 10 out of 10. It was really good. So next up, basically, we have this Excalibur, 68 to 70, and 72 to 77. Skip over 71 because it's part of the Fatal Attraction stuff. Now, in the opening few issues here, it's mostly put like, oh, let's have Excalibur fight the Starjammers for the first few issues of this book. Except they're here to collect a member of the team who actually is recalled to... She has been recalled to Shi'ar to face her crimes. And that's what the Shi'ar are here. Yep. Also, Brian Braddock is actually dead this period of time, so he had just got killed off previous issue, but he'll be back, don't worry. Yeah, so basically in 68, Micromax joins the team. Probably because of the spam of the agency he worked for. Yeah, so after dealing with the Starjammers for about a few issues, Cressy leaves the team along with Megan and Farron. And then after Skipper 71, goes straight to 72, where it's like, okay, let's have basically Rachel Summers basically just they deal with the upstarts. The upstarts is a bigger group who don't appear currently. Yeah, their appearance in here just a quick 2-issue guest appearance. In this issue in 74, and that's it for them in this book. In 73, it's mostly put just a guy. It's basically a Nightcrawler book. In 74, just an appearance by the upstarts. And also Mr. Sinister here too. And then issue 75, Brian, basically it's revealed in issue 74, Brian Bragg is alive after apparently dying. And then 75, he returns to team, he becomes Britannic. And Amanda Softon joins the team as Day Trapper. Yes, Amanda Softon, who usually is Nightcrawler's sister and his love interest. And like, they even kiss in the book, and it's like, ooh, that was good. Yes, seriously. And Megan rejoins the team because, well, also Rachel Summers leaves the team with issue 75. So the team is now down by with 76 being Kitty Pryde, Nightcrawler, Amanda Softon, Megan, Britannic, and Lockhead. And this kind of remains line for a little while. Basically, the covers are like, oh, let's basically put like covers like, oh, Nightcrawler goes home and hope he survives the experience. 77 is basically just Nightcrawler and his girlfriend take on Dayspire for an issue. Yep. And that's it. Yep. Oh, by the way, Lobdell finishes up his run with issue number 82. And that's pretty much it for Excalibur's time on Excalibur. Very interesting run, per se. It's not as good as, let's say, with Alan Davis or Chris Cameron in the book, but it was a very interesting run. I don't think it was terrible. It's just that, and here's the weird thing. 71, like I mentioned, is in trades for the Fatal Attraction, but 68 to 70 and 72 to 77 are not in trade. Do not know why this is. It's weird. I do not know the explanation for it, but are these issues terrible? Not really, no. But damn good issues. Love them. I give these issues roughly a 9 out of 10. So, when I talk about the rest of Excalibur, because I'm almost done reviewing Excalibur. So, next to discuss for Excalibur will be the Warren Ellis run, with selected 3 trades. And this is sadly also the only time I'm talking about individual issues for Excalibur, because the only other time, because I already discussed issues 78 to 81. Thanks to the fact that I was collecting another trade, but these issues in particular, I discussed these issues purely because they were not collecting a trade. So, move on from there. So after Warren Ellis, it's back to Epic Collections for 2 more volumes, and then we're done with Volume 1. And can you believe all the group books that I started like in the last couple months? Basically, I started this book, Excalibur, X Factor, and X Force. It was this book, X Factor, X Force. Of these 3 books, X Factor is the one that's first one to finish up Volume 1, while X Force not reached that far yet, or even Excalibur is getting there per se. I'd say this might be the next one of these X-Men books basically do that. I also just started Alpha Flight. Though it's interesting, Alpha Flight managed to last slightly longer than this book did. Alpha Flight lasted for 130 years, this lasted for 125. Yeah. But yeah, this particular view. Next up is going to be Judge Moshi, Moonlight Fantasy. Okay, next view. Bye.